Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is BoTalksGames, and today I wanted to talk about the future of Nintendo and also a little bit of this channel. If you noticed, I didn't upload for almost a week and a half, except for my Nintendo Select podcast, because I wanted to just let everybody breathe with Zelda for a bit. We were anticipating Zelda for so long that when that game came out, I decided very quickly, like, okay, I'm just going to let it breathe, let people play it. They're not going to be watching videos. I don't need to be making stuff, you know. We're just going to let everybody breathe and play Zelda. And people are still playing it. Most people probably haven't beaten it. It's only been a week and a half now. But I'm starting to, like, kind of, dwindle off a little bit. I'm playing it a little less and less each day, although I'm still playing it every day, closing in on 100 hours played. But I wanted to make a video talking about the future, because we are getting towards the end of the month, of May, so we're getting into June. That's E3 territory. Of course, E3 isn't happening this year, but we still typically get announcements and events around this time of year. PlayStation just announced their showcase for this upcoming Wednesday. Xbox has theirs, I think, on June 11th. And, of course, all third parties usually didn't have their announcements around sprinkled in there as well. So I wanted to make a video, now that we're in a post-Zelda world, talking about the next Nintendo Direct or next Nintendo announcements and when we can expect these to actually occur. So, and I've done multiple videos on this since really February, when I think that Direct kind of disappointed me in terms of new announcements for upcoming Nintendo games, because there is an absolute dearth of content in the fall season this year for the Switch. After Pikmin 4, which releases in July, on July 21st, we know nothing. This has never happened. We absolutely, without a doubt, need some sort of announcement. We've had reports from, I think, Jeff Grubb and some other insiders saying that this year is going to be a quiet year for the Switch. We've seen reports that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom would be the last major, big Switch game. Whether or not either of those things are true doesn't change the fact that there still needs to be games released in the fall, even if they're ports, even if they're, smaller scale games. So we are still waiting on announcements, because there is no way that there is absolutely no games coming out after Pikmin 4. That's not going to happen. So when is this going to happen? When are we going to get these announcements? Well, I think at this point, Nintendo knows that they can pretty easily separate themselves from the other big companies now. I think last year, right, we saw a partner showcase at the end of, was it June? Or maybe it was July. I think it was in the end of June. And that was already pretty far away from, Xbox, and, well, PlayStation hasn't had one in 2 years almost. So they, a couple weeks, separated. So while a lot of people are expecting a Direct that same E3 week that we would have normally had with Xbox in, the middle of June, I don't think that's going to happen. However, I do think it's possible at the end of June we get something, or even in July, which I don't think we've ever had before, or at least not in the Switch era, just like a general Direct in June, or July. I think that's possible. I think they will distance themselves at least a little bit, a couple weeks, a week or two, in between the other big showcases. There's also the possibility that they wait until September. And I'm sorry, but I think this is a very, very real possibility. Because here's what they can do. So, let's say Pikmin 4 is July. There are other games this year that Nintendo is not publishing that are Switch exclusive, that are going to be pretty major Switch games. Or at least games that they can market as if they were first party. Of course, Baten Kaitos collection from Bandai Namco. It's weird that they're not publishing that. That is exclusive to Switch, and I can imagine, because, the ties with Monolith Soft, they literally developed the game originally, Nintendo's probably going to push that pretty big. I expect that to come out in, like, August or something. Then we also have Level 5 with Deca Police, which is coming to PS4, but will most certainly be propped up as a Switch game, but more importantly, Fantasy Life I, which is Switch exclusive. Games like this, I think, might hold the gaps a little bit this year while we get to new games. So there could be a new first-party Nintendo game in September. In fact, I would bet money that there will be. And if we don't get a Direct until then, well, when do they announce that? I would say in a tweet. And I know no one wants to hear that. I know no one likes tweets, tweet announcements, YouTube announcements, that kind of thing. We like Directs. But I think if they really feel they don't have a lot to say this year, there's a good chance they just announce a couple games on Twitter in June and July for after Pikmin 4 comes out. Of course, they'll also do a big marketing push for Pikmin through tweets and videos pre-release. So announce like a game or two there, maybe like a Tomodachi Life port, maybe F-Zero GX is rumored, you know, that kind of thing through tweet announcements or press releases. And then we get to September, and that's when we get the Direct. I think that's a very likely scenario. I don't want that to be the case. I want a Direct as soon as possible. I'm starving, I feel like, for Nintendo news, even though we just had Zelda and we're getting Pikmin. I really want to see what's coming next, but I can definitely envision a world where Nintendo waits. Maybe we'll get another partner showcase. That could also be, especially like I said, with Bot and Kaidos and Fantasy Life and Deca Police and even Professor Layton coming out next year. These are the kinds of things that could show up at a partner showcase. And maybe you have some new announcements there as well, but I feel like that actually maybe does make more sense. And then you wait until September and you get a big beefy Direct, which announces a game for October and maybe November, right? Nintendo is no stranger to announcing games and releasing them within 6 weeks, 8 weeks now. That could totally be. And once again, they wouldn't be these huge games. We're not getting a 3D Mario this year. I think the dream of that is long since dead. But, you know, like I said, like a Tomodachi Life or ports of 3DS games and these kinds of things, you can announce those a month or two before they come out, and it'll be fine. We saw Metroid Prime Remastered earlier this year have a big drop like that. And that does leave, you know, Metroid Prime 4. I don't know if you can announce or show that again in September Direct and then release it in October or November. Obviously, we don't know if that game's coming out this year. Who knows? I'm leaning towards yes, but that could obviously change. Either way, I think the next Direct, we do see that game. So maybe that would be in the September Direct and then release maybe early 2024. Of course, September Direct always has those early games as well, so that could be the case. But it's an interesting time because... and I've been avoiding mentioning this entire video, but there's a lack of content currently announced for the end of the year, but we also know for a fact there's no hardware being released. There was a lot of speculation up until this most recent investor briefing of, oh, maybe there's a lack of content because they're going to have new hardware, be it a Switch revision, Switch 2, whatever it is. You know, maybe they're not announcing these games because they want to announce it and market it alongside a new piece of Switch hardware. Well, Furukawa shot that down at the investor meeting. He said there is no new hardware being released from now until the ending of next year, of the next fiscal year, or this fiscal year, sorry, ending in March 31st of 2024. So guaranteed for the next 10 months, we are not getting new hardware. So it's not that. That's not what the lack of content is. So it's really interesting to think about why Nintendo hasn't announced anything. If it is just truly a lack of content, that's fine, but there's no way there's literally no content. You know, if they didn't have a game, they would have spaced out the early year releases a lot better, I think. You know, Tears of the Kingdom could have been pushed to September. Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed could have been pushed to July. These kinds of things. We do have expansion still. We, I think, have 2 more waves of Mario Kart DLC. We have, of course, the Splatoon 3 paid expansion is coming out this year. So those will maybe fill out the summer, and those could be summer announcements as well through tweets, and just kind of fill in the gaps. But there has to be other games, even if they are small. So I'm gonna plant my flag here. As much as I don't want this to be the case, I do think we will not get a Direct until probably September. But, and you know, obviously my opinion on this can change depending on what we hear and from rumors and all that. But right now, this is how I'm feeling. We won't get a Direct until September, but we will get maybe a partner showcase that shows more Fantasy Life and you know, Bat and Kaidos, give that the date, you know, that kind of thing. And then we get these DLC announcements on Twitter. We get a F-Zero GX port announcement for September, and then we get that big Direct in September that we are all waiting for. That's kind of how I see it, so I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo discussions and content like this. I'm doing my weekly podcast now, the Nintendo Select Podcast. We are on Apple's Podcast, Spotify, all that fun stuff, so go check out that for more, even more in-depth conversations about every little piece of Nintendo news throughout the week. I've really been enjoying doing that, so it would mean a lot if you would check it out and rate us on podcast services. This is not an ad for the podcast. So yeah, check out that. And I do want to say I apologize for the lack of uploads, but like I said, I kind of want to just let it breathe for a little bit. Let people kind of sit on Zelda and just deal with it. And now we can start talking about the next phase of Nintendo. Of course, Pikmin 4, which I didn't talk about too much, is coming. So I'm excited for Pikmin 4 as well, and to cover that for you all here with new trailers. And I'm really excited for that game. Don't get it twisted, but there has to be more this year. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think we will get a Direct in June, July, maybe September, or maybe we won't get a Direct at all? How do you think Nintendo's going to market their fall season here? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Peace.